Hello YouTube, how's everyone doing? It's Professional here. So today I want to make the Bounty Hunter Ultimate Guide on Reddit Online. I made a trader guide and a collector guide, and now I want to make the Bounty Hunter guide. And the reason I kind of delayed this guide is because the Bounty Hunter, in my opinion, is the most simple out of all the roles in between the trader, the collector. Bounty Hunter's the easiest one to do. And also, I want to do this guide when I hit level 20 with the Bounty Hunter, which I actually recently did. So anyways, let's get started with this video. So to start off with the Bounty Hunter, you need to go down to Rhodes, and once you're down here in Rhodes, you will see this cutscene, and once the cutscene ends, you need to purchase the Bounty Hunter license from Sheriff Gray. You'll be given this prompt here, and you see, for me it's free, and the reason it's free for me is because I linked my Twitch Prime to my social club by September 8. If you hadn't done so by September 8, unfortunately, this will be 15 gold for you, and if it is 15 gold for you, do purchase it because it is worth it. The Bounty Hunter, you will be getting a lot of money over time, so it definitely is worth it. So to start off with the Bounty Hunter, you go up to any bounty board, and the bounty boards, they can be found at most train stations and in almost every single town. You also have the little map icon when you go there. But anyways, bounty targets, they come in many different types. They come in single targets, multiple targets, and they also come in legendary bounties. I'm going to talk about the legendary bounties a little later. You see the legendary bounty here on the board, but we're going to focus on the regular bounties for now. Now, the bounties, they come in 3 tiers. Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. And to look at these tiers, basically look at the dollar symbol. So you see there's $1 symbol, and then the second one has $2 symbols. That's Tier 2. And the third tier would have $3 symbols. And that means that the bounty will be worth more money. So Tier 3 is the highest valued bounties, but they're also usually harder bounties. And when you go after multiple target bounties, you also get paid more money than usual. So multiple target bounties, they pay much more than single target bounties. And multiple target bounties, usually they will pay more even if they're a lower tier than a single target bounty. So if you have 4 targets that are Tier 2, and then you have 1 target that's Tier 3, chances are the multiple target Tier 2 one is going to pay more, because even though the other one, the single target, is a higher tier, the Tier 2 of 4 bounty targets, there's more people to turn in, you will be making more money. And when you go after these bounty targets, make sure that you get the reinforced lasso. That's the first thing that you want to do. The reinforced lasso, it's kind of expensive, but you unlock it right away there at level 1, so make sure to get it. And basically the difference between reinforced lasso and regular lasso is the reinforced lasso is just a lot harder for them to break out of it. They can still break out of it, but it takes a lot longer for them to do so. And when you go after these targets, you want to bring them in alive. Always bring them in alive, because you get much more money back. I wish there was some kind of incentive, to bring them in dead. Some kind of maybe extra activity that we could have if we bring them in dead, but it's only to bring them in alive. That's where you get paid the most amount of money, so you want to do that. What you also want to get is the Bounty Hunter Wagon. Now, this will cost you $875, and you unlock this at level 10, so you're not going to be able to get this early on, but it is worth the purchase, even though it's so expensive. And I've read a bunch of comments from people that were saying that if you're a solo player to get it, but they said if you play in a large posse, don't get it. Even if you play in a large posse, you should still get it. And the reason the Bounty Hunter Wagon is such a good investment is because it's actually very fast for a wagon this size, but also because you can put all the targets in the back of this wagon. You can put even 6 targets in the back of this wagon, and when you put someone in the back of this thing, they cannot escape. So even if you're doing a 2-person bounty, you put both of them in the back of this wagon, they can't escape. They're not going to break loose. You don't have to worry about them. And even if you're playing in a large posse, you're playing in a full 7-person posse, you should still use the Bounty Hunter Wagon, because if everybody's transporting a target to their drop-off, what happens if, one target gets shot along the way, or what happens if one target gets loose and just escapes because somebody's going AFK. So, it's much better to get this wagon because it's going to be worth the investment. I've been using it a lot, and it is one of the best purchases I've made in this game. But if you don't have the bounty wagon, how can you take multiple targets alive? It's actually pretty simple. If you are doing it solo, you don't have access to a friend's bounty hunter wagon, and you don't have your own bounty hunter wagon, do 2 target bounties. If it's more than a 2 target bounty, don't bother with it. But early on, you can still capture 2 target bounties. And what I do is, if I don't have the bounty hunter wagon, I tie both of those targets up. And I put one on the back of my horse, and then the other one, I will actually lasso. I won't tie him up, but I will actually lasso him. And then what I'll do do is I'll just ride to the destination. So you can have one guy in the back of your horse and you can be dragging the other guy. And don't worry about this, because when you start dragging him, he will get knocked out, so he's not going to be running away anytime soon. Even if you do manage to drop him, you can still tie him back up and get him again. And you can actually drag these guys for a long distance. Eventually they will die, but you can drag them for a long distance before they die, and chances are you're going to be able to get to your destination. For here, I actually got to Ansburg, so I actually dragged one guy, got him to Ansburg, had the other guy in the back of my horse. And when you deliver these targets, I recommend delivering the guy that's tied up on the back of your horse, because I've had it happen where I deliver the guy that's knocked out first on the ground, and then the guy in the back of the horse escapes, and I failed the mission in that time. So I personally recommend turning in the guy that's tied up first, then go for the guy that's knocked out. And you can actually knock out targets, and it will count as them being alive. It will still count as them being alive. Just be very careful with them because they can still die. But on the other hand, if you're doing it with a team, if you're doing it with multiple members in your posse, I don't recommend knocking people out. You can knock people out by tying them up with the lasso, and you can also knock them out just by tackling them and beating them up. The reason you don't want to knock people out when you're in a big posse is because there's a glitch in this game, so hopefully Rockstar fixes that glitch. And basically what this glitch is it'll actually count as them being dead for other players. You will still see them as being alive, but other players, it'll actually count as them being dead, and they actually won't get the bonus for having them alive. So if you're doing it solo, don't really worry about knocking them out, but if you're doing it with a posse, I would not really recommend doing that. Hopefully Rockstar fixes that in the future. If this glitch is fixed by the time I'm speaking about this, ignore this advice. Some more tips that I want to give about going after these targets is when you get to the destination, because it depends on what destination. Sometimes the targets are in a camp, sometimes they're headed to a camp, they're traveling, or sometimes you have to go to a specific area, you have to find them, or other times you even have to wait at a specific location. When you find the targets, and you all find them in a general area, keep an eye on all of them, because when you initiate combat, some targets will stay there and fight, but others will just run, and they will run pretty fast, and they can get away from you actually pretty fast. The targets are really unpredictable. Some will fight, some will just run. And in this case, I actually almost lost a target. This guy was actually running away from me. I tied him up and I caught him. The other target was actually still waiting at the camp, and he was still willing to fight, so I didn't really have to worry about him running. But just be careful with this AI, and when the target starts running away from you, you will notice that their blip actually disappears on the map for a little bit, but if you actually catch up to them, they are still there, they're running, and the blip will actually show up on the map again. But if they get too far, they will actually disappear and they will be gone, and this can be a little frustrating. So if you're going after like a multiple target bounty, because the highest bounties that you can get in this game are 6-person bounties, they pay the most, make sure that you're doing this with a decent posse. I would not recommend doing it with 2 people. You can still do it with 2 people, but at least have one other person helping you, especially if you're going after a 6-person bounty. And the best way to approach like multiple target bounties is find out what location those targets are in, and then have your friend come from one side, you go from another side, and then tell your friend, I'm going to go for this target, I'm going to tie him up, you go for this target. And then that way, the target's in the middle, then you guys both just go right after them, and you just tie them up. And speaking of which, the bolas, these actually come in handy a lot. So if you're actually going after multiple targets, the bolas will actually help you. They'll actually help you tie up multiple targets. Like here, I had 2 targets that were on horses, and when these targets are traveling, chances are they're going to be traveling to some kind of fortress. These guys, they were traveling to Fort Mercer. So if I didn't stop them right here, they would have gotten to Fort Mercer, and then it might have been a lot more complicated, but I was able to stop them early on here. The bolas, basically what they are, they're like basically throwing lassos. So you throw them, and it actually ties people up, but it only ties them up for 15 seconds. 15 seconds. But on the other hand, bolas are very, very expensive. They're actually $30 each, and you can retrieve them, don't get me wrong, but sometimes they can disappear. If you tie up an enemy, you can always get it back if you tie them up, but sometimes if you miss, you're gonna lose them, and you can be out $30. So I would recommend using the bolas only if you really get good with them. If you get a lot of practice with them and you know how to use them, you know how to retrieve them pretty quickly, then use them, but early on, I would not recommend spending too much money on these personally. Another tip that I can give is if there's a lot of targets in the area and you're unsure of who the bounty target is, you can activate Eagle Eye and the target will be glowing red, and if they're in some kind of like carriage and you can't see them, the carriage will actually be emitting this red glow right here. And you can also use the refined binoculars from the collector, so if you actually unlock those, you can actually see where the target is from a greater distance, and this can actually greatly help you when you have the mission where you have to wait for the targets to show up, because you don't want to get too close because then you'll spook the targets. So this will actually help you detect extract the targets pretty quickly. And, I've talked a lot about capturing these targets, how these missions work, but the most important tip is to wait the timer out. Because if you wait till the last minute and you deliver the target, same as in stranger missions, you wait until the last minute to deliver the mission, you will actually get more money. So multiple targets will get you more money. The higher the tier will also get you more money, and it will get you more XP. The lower tiers, you're going to have the majority of them when you're low level. As you level up, you're going to unlock more tiers. You're going to unlock more tier 2, tier 3, and more multi-target bounty hunts. So make sure you go for those when you get them. And if you have a friend that has those early on, make sure they invite you to that, because that can actually help you level up pretty quickly. But this is the worst part of the bounty hunter, in my opinion, because I really don't like it that we have to wait until the last minute to deliver the target for more money, because it doesn't really make much sense if you think about it. It's basically the sheriff is actually paying you more money if you take your time. Doesn't really make much sense. How it should have been is the faster you get the bounty, the more money you get paid, but it's the other way around. The longer you take, the more money you get paid, so it's kind of an extension of stranger missions. As you level up with the bounty hunter, at level 12, you will actually unlock player bounties. And these, while they seem kind of cool, you will actually very rarely encounter them. And basically what happens is, if there's a player that's in your vicinity and they have over a $20 bounty, you will actually get a little notification. It'll be an invite similar to a free mode event, and you accept it, and then you go after that target. Basically, then there's this red blob around your map, and that target is going to be in that blob. And if you don't find that target within 5 minutes, that target gets away, and if they leave that blob, then they are actually going to appear on your map, and you can chase them down. These are going to be players, obviously, and you can put them in the back of the bounty wagon, and when you put them in the back of the bounty wagon, they will not be able to escape. But I wouldn't really worry about these player bounties. I'm not really going to cover them that much, because they're not really that important to the bounty hunter. They're not really going to help you make money, and they're not really going to help you level up. It's going to be very rare that you encounter a player with a bounty. I have not encountered one player with a bounty except my friend, and that's because we were testing it. I have a video where I tested the player bounties. If you guys want to check that out, I'll have that at the end of the video, but I wouldn't really worry about them. Most people are not going to have over a $20 bounty in this game, because when you're at $10, you can't do a lot of things. You can't do stranger missions, you can't do bounty hunter missions, and bounty hunters are going to constantly come after you, so there's not really an incentive to get more than a $10 bounty. You're not really going to bump into people with bounties that often. Next, we have Bounty Hunter free mode events, and there's actually two types of free mode events. There's Manhunt and Day of Reckoning. First, let me cover Day of Reckoning. Day of Reckoning is a mode. It's competitive, but you can't kill other players, and it's basically where you spawn in a location. Here it was roads, and there are random NPC targets that will spawn around, and the faster that you collect these targets and you deliver them, the more points you get and the more money you get. And the other one, it is Manhunt, and basically this is a big co-op free mode event, and here we had 7 targets that we go after, and they're all at different locations. And even though we delivered the targets, you don't really get that much money. So me personally, I just didn't really enjoy these free mode events. I like the regular bounty hunter activities in free mode. I just didn't really like the events that much, and they didn't really pay that well either. I mean, I won first place here and I won around $30, but I could have just done a multi-target bounty and just basically got the same amount of money, and I wouldn't have had to rush and fight some other players, so I should say compete with other players. So bounty free mode events, not really worth it, but if you're looking to level up, I would do these early on, because even though they're not going to give you that much money, they will give you a decent amount of XP, so if you're looking to level up with the bounty hunter, do these, but other than that, me personally, I just wouldn't bother with them. In the last part of this guide, I will talk about legendary bounties. Now, legendary bounties, these are added once a week. Every Tuesday, they are added to Reddit Online, and at this moment that I'm recording this video, the Wolfman is out, but tomorrow we should have the next legendary bounty, so they're drip-fed. And legendary bounties, there's something different. When you spawn a legendary bounty, you accept it from the board, you will actually be put at that location, so you'll be teleported to wherever that bounty is, and it's more of a cinematic event. It's more of a special mission, and these bounties, they will have unique dialogue and unique events happening in the mission. They're not a generic one like the regular bounties that you go up on the board. And these bounties, they come in 5 levels. So there's level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, and level 5. In this case, I'm actually doing level 5. When you complete a level, you unlock the next level. Usually like an hour later, I encountered it. I believe it's actually one in-game day every 48 minutes, and you'll actually get a notification of when the next one will actually spawn at the board. And level 4 and 5, you cannot kill the target. You actually have to take the target alive, and the levels actually get much more difficult. There are certain things that will spawn in that level that normally don't spawn on the lower levels. In this case, I believe that there's more wolves, and I actually have to bring in the Wolfman alive, so it can get a lot more complicated, but the rewards are worth it because I got a decent amount at the end. And these, you can do them solo, or you can do them with a friend, so each time a legendary bounty spawns, do it, and see, if you can complete the level 5. See if you can do that challenge. It's actually kind of fun, and I enjoy these missions, so I hope that this guide helped people out. That's pretty much everything that I covered with this guide. If there was anything else that I missed, let me know down below, and if people have any other questions, comments, or concerns about the Bounty Hunter, comment. I'll try to help as many people as I can down there in the comments section, so I hope that you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, drop a like, and if you're new to my channel, enjoy my content, subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care, everyone.